What's up, everyone? My name is Alan, founder and consultant at For Now Marketing, and welcome to Braze for Technical Marketers. Today, we're going to test the action-based trigger, add an email address, and see how exactly it works, and also test to see if we change an email address, if this trigger will still work. Let's get started. So here we have a Braze email. It's a welcome email that simply just has a first name personalization. It looks like this. And we are going to trigger this based on the trigger add an email address. And if I just start from scratch, it's when you first open the campaign, it looks like this. Select trigger type, add an email address, add trigger. And I like this trigger in particular because it kind of serves as a user created or account created trigger. So your team, your engineering team doesn't necessarily have to pass that in because this add an email address works very well because it'll trigger every time a profile is created with the new email address or every time an email address is added to the profile. And because we are going to be testing a few different things, I am going to allow the user to become re-eligible in 0 days, meaning we can get this email back to back if we wanted to. For our target audiences, I am going to target all users in our app, in our For Now Marketing app. So that is just pretty much everybody. Whenever you're sending test campaigns, make sure to remove control groups so you don't accidentally fall under the control group and end up not receiving a campaign. That can just distract you from your testing purposes. And for assigned conversions, we don't need to worry about that. So I'm going to go ahead and trigger this campaign, launch campaign. I'm going to go ahead and launch that campaign. Campaign is live, and this campaign is now listening for any instances of add an email address trigger firing. And what we are going to be doing is using a Braze webhook to create some profiles, add some email addresses, and then even change email addresses. And let's just see what happens after each small step. Then lastly, we are going to be using our team email address. So any email we can expect to receive in this inbox. So the first case that we want to test is what happens if we just create an email, or sorry, create in the profile, create just a blank external ID profile. So we're going to click send test, and that should create a profile called Alan. And let's test to see by searching for Alan. And Alan may actually have already existed, so that might not work. Yes, okay. So Alan already exists. So what we're going to do is actually create Alan 1. And before we do that, let's just make sure Alan 1 doesn't exist. Right, Alan 1 doesn't exist. And we are creating just a blank profile with no email address. So this actually shouldn't fire any email because there is no email address included. This will not trigger add an email address. Let's go ahead and test this. And then Alan 1 should be created in just a minute. But we also should not be seeing any emails come through. We may give it a minute for the data to get ingested. So I'll pause the video for a second. All right, so Alan 1 has been created, no email address, and still no email in our team inbox. I'm actually curious what happens if I manually add an email address, if that would still trigger this add an email address trigger. So let's try manually adding this and then click check and see if that itself triggered our campaign that is triggered by action-based add an email address. I'm going to give it a minute for any emails to arrive in this inbox. It's been more than a minute and still no email in my inbox. So I have a feeling that manually adding an email address does not do anything. And that is usually the case with Braze. You have some options of altering the user profile on the user profile page. You can change the user subscription status, get them in and out of subscription groups, and then also add an email address and add a phone number. But that didn't actually trigger this campaign. So that's one thing to know. Now what I want to try is our full use case. So I'm going to create a different profile so we don't interfere with the existing profile. But this one, email, I believe it's actually just email. And let's create a different profile with the same team email address. But this time, let's see if the profile gets created as well as do I receive an email, that welcome email that we saw. Send test. Looks good. Got created. We'll probably wait until the profile is already created. Look how fast that is. And then let's see if we receive any emails in our inbox. So I did not receive an email. So then what I did was I came to the campaign and looked up to see if either of my users were eligible. And unfortunately, it looks like my user was not technically part of the all users for the specific web segment. So we will start over this test. We'll just make a quick change, which is we're going to create a truly all user segment, and that does not filter by any specific apps. But if you just create an all user segment with no filters, that is your true all users segment. So what I'm gonna have to do is change that. And then, whoops, if I just go to a different page and come back, that list reloads with all users. And now a user like Alan1 should satisfy. So I'm gonna have to start over with 3 and 4 because I wanna make sure that our test is reset. So this campaign is live. And now what we are going to do is go back and let's create Alan3 with no email. Just to start over from testing the manually adding process. So we'll go to Alan3. And once again, loads very quickly. A profile is created with no email address, still no email received. That is expected so far. But what happens if we manually add an email address? Let's see if that actually does trigger or not. I'm still leaning towards not triggering, but I don't know. I have a feeling it might. Oh, look at that. So manually adding an email address actually does trigger the trigger the action-based delivery, add an email address. So when I manually added it, even from the user profile, we did get this email saying, "Welcome, Alan." That's actually very cool. That lets you know that even adjusting this field triggers it. So now moving on to our next case where we're actually adding the profile with the email address attached to it from the first place. And this is the expected case. This should work for sure. So I want to first check if Alan4 is created. Usually takes anywhere between very quickly to a minute or two before the profile gets created. So let's give it a minute. And it looks like Alan4 did get created with our email address. And if I go to my inbox, I did receive the second email, show. And it's the same exact email, so it came in clipped. So now we know add an email address will definitely trigger if we create a profile expectedly. So now this is an interesting case. What happens if I change the email address? So for the same user profile external ID Alan4, I'm going to change the email address from team to, I don't know if this is going to be big enough change, but I'm going to change to team +1. So I am still technically changing this email address. And what I can do is I can also even change it to my personal For Now Marketing email address and see if that triggered anything. But I've always been curious, does it only accept brand new, net new email addresses, or does it also accept changes in email address? So let's test it. Tool uncreated. I'm going to give that a minute, and I'll also test it by changing it to my personal For Now Marketing email address, and I'll check my inbox separately to see if that received any emails. But for now, let's give it a minute. So it's been about a minute, still no email, and my only thought is, was that too similar? Did the plus alias not work for this one? So I'm going to send myself a test by updating the profile with an entirely different email. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to update the results to see whether I received an email to this new email address or not. So the answer to the question, does add an email address trigger for changes in email address, can be found in the comments below. A little cliffhanger to end this video. Thank you for watching and see you next time.